If someone wants your art for free and offers exposure instead, the real question is not whether it's flattering, it's whether it makes business sense for you. Exposure is not automatically a bad thing, but vague exposure is not a business model. So before you say yes to an unpaid request, you need to know 3 things straight away. Who will actually see your work, whether there is any realistic path to paid work, and what this will cost you in time, money, and lost opportunity. Because that is where a lot of artists get pulled off track. You get asked to donate a piece, to create something for free, or it's dressed up as a wonderful opportunity. Maybe it's for a charity event, maybe it's for a local business, maybe it's for a community project, a pop-up, a fundraiser, a feature, a collaboration. And the language often sounds warm and positive. It will be amazing exposure. So many people will see your work. It could lead to many more opportunities. And sometimes it might. But sometimes it's simply a polite way of asking you to absorb the cost while somebody else gets the benefit. So let's look at this properly and calmly, because you don't need to respond from guilt or pressure or panic. You can respond like a professional. The framework I want to give you is very simple. It's called worth. Before you say yes to unpaid exposure, ask whether the opportunity is truly worth it. W is for who is the audience, O is for outcome, R is for respect, T is for terms, and H is for hidden cost. If the answers are weak to these points or slippery in several of those areas, the opportunity probably isn't helping your business. So let's start with the first one. Who's the audience? This matters because visibility is only useful if the right people are seeing your work. Not just more people, the right people. If your ideal buyers are collectors, interior designers, private clients, hospitality venues, galleries, or people who commission art for their home or businesses, then you need to ask whether this audience actually overlaps with those people. Because a room full of people is not automatically a buying audience. A lot of us artists here, hundreds of people will attend and think that sounds promising. But if those hundreds of people are not art buyers, not decision makers, not future clients, then the exposure may be broad, but it's not useful. So ask yourself, who exactly will see the work? Are they likely to buy art like mine? Are they in a position to commission, purchase, recommend, or connect me to paid opportunities? And this is your first filter. The second filter is outcome. What is the realistic result of saying yes? And I want to be really clear here, not the possible result, the realistic result. Because you never know who might see it. It's not a strategy, this is a hope. And hope is lovely, but it's not the same thing as business thinking. So ask, what is the likely path from this unpaid opportunity to something paid or strategically useful? Could it lead to sales? Could it lead to commissions? Could it give you a portfolio credibility in a specific market you want to enter? Could it introduce you to people who genuinely buy or place art? Could it grow your mailing list? Could it build a relationship that is relevant to your next paid step? And then ask the harder question. Is there any evidence of that actually happening? Have other artists gained paid work from this? Can the organizer give you examples? Is there any proper follow-up in place? Or are you simply expected to hand over your work and hope for magic? If there is no real route to an outcome, then what you have is not an opportunity. What you have is a request. Now, let's talk about respect. This one matters because how someone asks you tells you a lot about how they see artists. Respect shows up in the tone, the clarity, the professionalism, and the assumptions underneath the request. A professional requester may not always have a large budget, but they will usually be willing to discuss payment, funding, or realistic paid options rather than assuming your work should be free. That is a very important distinction. It's not about whether they can afford your full rate. It's about whether they treat payment as normal and a valid part of the conversation. So if someone says, we have a limited budget, but we would love to see whether there is a way for us to work together, that's very different from, we can't pay you, but it will be great exposure. One is professional, one is presumptuous. Other signs of respect are clear communication, realistic timelines, proper handling of your work, clarity around delivery or installation, and a basic understanding that your artwork has value. Red flags are guilt-based language, pressure, urgency, vagueness, or a tone that suggests you should simply feel grateful for being asked. And I think this is especially important for us artists in midlife and later, because by this point, we already have years spent building skill, judgment, taste, resilience, and our lived experience. We're not at the stage of needing to hand our work over for free just to prove we're serious. Right, so let's move on to terms. This is the practical part that many artists skip. If you're considering saying yes to unpaid opportunity, what exactly are the terms? Will your name be clearly displayed with the work? Will your website or social handle be included? Will there be an artist bio? Will people know how to contact you? Can you promote the opportunity yourself? Really important. Will they tag you properly and consistently online? Can you collect leads? Can you direct people to your mailing list or website? Will there be photographs you can use afterwards? Do you keep control over how your work is credited and presented? All these questions are really important to ask, because if your work is visible, but you are invisible, then the benefit drops very quickly. If they want your art, but they don't want to make it easy for people to find you, remember you, and buy from you, then the exposure is doing very little for your business. And now the final part of the framework, which is often the most important one, the hidden costs. This is where us artists quietly lose money, because even if no invoice is involved, the cost is still real. Materials cost money, frames cost money, packaging costs money, delivery costs money, travel costs money, admin takes time, custom work takes time, planning takes time, communication takes time, and perhaps most importantly, unpaid work takes space away from paid work, marketing, rest, or your own creative direction. So ask, what will this cost me? What will I not be doing if I say yes to this? Will this displace my paid work in the studio? Will it delay a commission, a launch, a new collection, or a marketing plan? Will I end up carrying a financial loss for somebody else's event or project? And if you're being asked to create something new rather than donate an existing piece, you need to be even more careful, because an unpaid commission is usually not a small favor. Well, it's not. We all know that. It's a proper business cost. Now, I want to say this clearly, unpaid opportunities are not always wrong. Sometimes they do make sense. They make sense when the audience is strongly aligned with your ideal buyer, when the organization is respectful and professional, when there's a credible path to paid work, and when you have proper visibility and follow-up. When the cost to you is low and manageable, or when the cause genuinely matters to you and fits within your own plans and budget and mission statement. That's the key phrase, within your own plans and budget and mission statement. Not because you were put on the spot, not because you felt guilty, not because you were worried that saying no made you sound difficult or ungrateful. A well-chosen unpaid opportunity can be strategic, but most unpaid opportunities are not. They are simply uncosted. And they usually don't make sense when the benefit is vague, the audience is not buyer aligned, the requester has a budget for everything else except for the artist, red flags going off, the attribution is poor, the ask involves custom work, or the opportunity leaves you financially worse off. So let me give you some language you can actually use, because for many artists, this is the hardest part, not deciding, but responding. So here's some scripts. Script 1. Thank you very much for thinking of me. I'm careful about where I place my time and artwork, so I'm not able to take part in unpaid opportunities at the moment. I appreciate the invitation though, and wish you every success with it. Or, thank you for reaching out. I don't offer unpaid commissions or free artwork, as I need to protect my studio time and business resources. If you do have a budget available, I'd be happy to discuss options. Or, thanks for getting in touch. I work on a paid basis for commissions and professional collaborations. My rates for this type of project start at X. If that suits your budget, I'd be glad to send further details. And if you want to acknowledge that you do sometimes support courses, but selectively, you can say something like, "Thank you for asking. I do support causes from time to time, but I choose those commitments carefully within my own plans and budget each year. I'm not able to contribute to this one, but I appreciate you thinking of me." And if you think it might be worthwhile, but you need more information first, say something like this: "Thank you. This may be of interest. Before I decide, could you let me know who the audience is, how the work will be credited, what visibility I would have, and whether there is any realistic pathway to paid work, sales, or future collaborations." That is calm, that is professional, that is boundary-led. And that is really the heart of the whole conversation. A professional boundary is not you being negative. It is not you being difficult. It is not you being selfish. It is you protecting the practice you have worked hard to build. Free work can quietly train people to expect free work again. One unpaid yes often leads to more unpaid asks. And opportunities can sound especially tempting when the sales are quiet, which is exactly when you need to have strong filters, not looser ones. So if you take one thing from this video, let it be this: exposure is only worthwhile when it's specific, strategic, and connected to a real opportunity. Anything else needs much closer inspection. You don't have to prove your generosity by undercutting your own livelihood. And you don't have to say yes just because the request was wrapped in flattering language. You're allowed to pause. You're allowed to ask questions. You're allowed to quote a rate. And you are absolutely allowed to say no.